The discussion of Pokemon in Smash Bros. Has always been a rather interesting topic during any speculation period. It's not uncommon for each generation to have its fair share of potential newcomers, but with Generation 8's release, we might have gotten the widest spread out of any generation so far. Most games in the franchise have anything from 1 to 3 candidates each, while Gen 8 has seemingly created over 7 of them. However, while that's the case, a good chunk of them are seemingly removed from play due to either being outclassed by others in terms of relevancy, or to prevent an imbalance in marketing. That brings us to the most likely candidates, and that's the final evolutions of the Galarian starters. While all 3 of these characters are more than unique enough to provide movesets and playstyles that are completely different from one another, there is a clear fan favorite amongst them, and that's the striker Pokemon, Cinderace. With her starring role in the anime, a wide array of merchandise and appearances in other Pokemon-related media, it's clear that Cinderace is to Gen 8 as Greninja is to Gen 6 or Incineroar is to Gen 7. But how will the blazing striker of Galar work in Smash Bros? Well, let's find out. This is Cinderace for Super Smash Bros. Cinderace! Cinderace is a mixed-range rushdown character who combines strength and speed to overwhelm opponents and control the flow of a match. With a variety of unique and versatile moves at her disposal, it'll be difficult to push Cinderace out of the lead once she gains momentum, but should she fail to get an early lead, she might find herself struggling to close the gap. To win as Cinderace, a player needs to think like Cinderace. Press the advantage, mix up opponents, and put on a show for the crowd, just like the superstar football player she's meant to be. Cinderace is a medium-sized humanoid character, her height being comparable to that of Min Min. Much like her home series counterpart, Cinderace's greatest strength is her speed and damage output, all while having just enough defense to not be considered a lightweight. Also, much like Incineroar's personality is built around that of a wrestler, Cinderace is built around that of a professional football player, and as a result, she is very expressive in everything she does. Her idle animation is very energetic, and she will also perform special taunts after landing powerful attacks. This also goes for her getting hit animations, which are dramatic and over the top much like your average soccer superstar. Stay on the ground long enough and you might see her accidentally break character to see if anyone bought her act. Aside from her expressive demeanor, Cinderace's run, dodge, and shield animations will be like that of a football player as well, Cinderace's roll looking more like a bypassing dash than an actual roll. In terms of mobility options, Cinderace has 2 jumps and has the ability to wall jump. While she might be passionate, Cinderace's personal flair isn't just for show, as it plays into the heart of her character mechanic, which is titled Fired Up. Cinderace is just as much a performer as she is an athlete, and as a performer it's important to put on a show. It's also important in this business that you keep your head in the game. In order to do that, you've got to have morale. Fired Up is displayed through a small gauge above Cinderace's percent bar, it being shaped like the fireball Cinderace uses when she's Gigantamaxed. Starting out at a dull yellow, this gauge will fill up a golden yellow as Cinderace lands fire-based attacks, be it normal or special moves. This gauge can be filled a total of 3 times, starting at a golden yellow, then transitioning to a bright orange, then finally ending with a vibrant red, this signifying that Cinderace is at max morale. The expression of the fireball will also intensify as the gauge increases, going from a neutral expression to one of serious intensity. For each morale gauge she fills, Cinderace will gain 0.1 damage and speed, maximizing at a total of 1.3 times her base stats. While this sounds enticing, Cinderace is also capable of going into negative morale should she not manage to gain an early footing in a match, taking her down to 0.9 times her base stats as the morale gauge turns a muted gray. Don't worry though, as morale will build much faster should Cinderace fall below her starting amount. There's also a ton of moves in her moveset that help her build morale, so there's always a chance to get back your footing, should you play your cards right. Although Cinderace will lose morale as she takes consecutive damage, it will take considerably more damage to lower her morale rank once her current gauge has been emptied, giving her player a chance to possibly recover from a major deficit. Despite this, Cinderace will automatically lose half a gauge's worth of morale if she is KO'd. Cinderace's main form of attack comes in the form of brutal kicks, with many of her moves having a fire effect associated with it. Landing these fiery attacks will fill her morale gauge, with the amount of morale received being dependent on the damage of the attack. Cinderace's neutral combo is a set of 3 quick kicks that will transition into a flurry of rapid strikes for an endless combo. To conclude the combo, Cinderace will perform a roundhouse strike to launch her opponent away. Cinderace's side tilt is double kick, a pair of heavy-hitting roundhouse strikes that will push her forward as she attacks. While powerful and a great way to catch an opening, Cinderace will be locked into the animation once she uses this move, meaning she might be putting herself in danger should her opponent see the move coming. Cinderace's up tilt will have her perform a high-hitting kick, knocking dust up into the air as she raises her leg up over her head. This attack will halt her opponent's aerial approach, it also serving as a great way to start a combo. Cinderace's down tilt is a low-hitting strike that will knock out the opponent's balance upon contact and pop them up into the air. This great neutral tool can also trip an opponent should they be hit by the tip of Cinderace's foot, which can set up for potential 50-50 scenarios. For her dash attack, Cinderace taps into her roots as a football player and performs a sliding tackle, a tactic often used by players to knock the ball out of another player's control. This attack will cover a decent range, but is relatively unsafe on Shield. For her get-up attack, Cinderace will perform a breakdown strike to kick on both sides of herself, while her ledge attack is a heavy-hitting axe kick. Cinderace's smash attacks will truly tap into her potential as a powerhouse, all 3 of her attacks having flame effects that can fill up her morale gauge rather quickly, especially if fully charged. Cinderace's forward smash is Blaze Kick, Cinderace charging up energy in her legs before flipping forward and striking with a wide-hitting kick. If the power of the kick isn't enough, this attack will create a burst of fire once Cinderace's foot slams into the ground, dealing extra damage and covering a solid amount of range. As is to be expected of a big flashy attack, this attack is quite slow on the recovery, but thanks to the range and pushback of the explosive second attack, you might have a chance to get out of harm's way before your opponent can close the gap. Cinderace's up smash is Windmill Kick, Cinderace taking a low standing position before performing a wide-hitting backflip strike. This flaming windmill will launch the hit opponent up and behind Cinderace, meaning it might land an early KO should you use it with your back to the edge of the stage. However, by holding forward as the attack animation starts, Cinderace will turn forward as she flip kicks, changing the launch angle to up and in front of you. This mix-up potential means the opponents always have to keep their positioning in mind, but the Cinderace player also has to keep in mind that the turnaround version of her up smash takes slightly longer to start up than the regular version. Finally, Cinderace's down smash is Flame Wheel, Cinderace spinning around on one foot to strike on both sides of herself. Normally, Cinderace will end this attack by digging her foot into the ground to stop her momentum, but if the A button is held while the attack is active, Cinderace will instead use the momentum of her spin to throw herself forward through the air, foot first, delivering a long-range flaming kick that will launch opponents with heavy force. While this can be used to punish gaps or poor placement, the recovery of this move is increased substantially to compensate. Thanks to the strength in her legs, Cinderace's high-flying jumps are complemented by a set of versatile aerial attacks, all of which serve a purpose in her game plan. Cinderace's neutral air is a jumping splits kick, this move coming out quickly and being a great way to challenge opponents at the ledge. Both sides of this move's hitbox become active at the same time, meaning both sides of Cinderace are immediately covered. Cinderace's forward air is a pair of flaming kicks, this attack doing heavy shield damage as well as acting as a decent launcher. While it might deal great damage, it's not a safe attack to land with. Cinderace's up air will have her shy away from her powerful kicks and instead use her head, Cinderace smashing up into the air with a heavy-hitting headbutt attack that can launch foes skyward. Like the up airs of both Ness and Lucas, this move is meant to either cover platforms or confirm KOs, and it excels at doing both. Cinderace's back air is a flaming backflip, this attack hitting both above and behind Cinderace as she attacks. While the attack covers a C-shaped path, the end of this move can spike opponents should they be within sweet spot range, much like Lucas's back air. If the opponent is outside the spike bubble, it will launch them backwards like your typical back air. Finally, Cinderace's down air is a rapid hitting bicycle kick, dealing rapid damage before finishing with a final downward kick, launching the opponent down into the floor. While it's technically a spike, its power is rather weak, as this move's greatest strength is its overall damage and allowing Cinderace to reposition herself by pushing herself upwards off of the final strike. Cinderace will grab using both of her arms, it coming out quickly and covering a small range thanks to her short limbs. For her pummel, Cinderace will knee the opponent. Cinderace's forward throw will have her reel back before headbutting her opponent, dealing heavy damage before knocking her opponent forward. A reference to one of the most iconic football moments in history, there will thankfully be no red cards being passed out here in Smash Bros., which is great as this is Cinderace's most powerful throw, albeit not the one with the best kill potential. Cinderace's up throw will have her fall back with her opponent in tow, tucking in her legs before kicking out to launch them skyward. This throw is decently strong, especially with the kick having the ability to hit other nearby opponents. Cinderace's down throw will have her knock out her opponent's balance, all before hopping on top of them to deal damage. This throw is Cinderace's combo throw, and will reposition her on the opposite side of the opponent from where the throw started, giving her mix-up potential. Finally, Cinderace's back throw will have her jump up and grab her opponent's head between her legs, all before backflipping and slamming them into the floor to launch them away. This throw serves as Cinderace's kill throw, and, like her up throw, it can hit nearby opponents should they be standing too close to her. Much like the other playable Pokemon in the series, Cinderace's specials is the place where the actual moves from Pokemon get a chance to shine, and each of these attacks is specially tailored to her playstyle and personality. Each of Cinderace's specials also have multiple forms or properties that add on to her mix-up oriented game plan, which is fitting, as the best football players always need a plan to outsmart their opponents should they want to make it to their opponent's goal line. Cinderace's standard special is her evolution line's exclusive move and most iconic attack, Pyro Ball. Much like your standard energy projectile, this move is designed to be Cinderace's long-range kill confirm, but unlike the likes of Charge Shot or Aura Sphere, Pyro Ball has a few unique properties that set it apart in its usability. For starters, the initial startup animation of Pyro Ball acts as a close-range strike, Cinderace performing a flaming upward kick as she kicks the pebble off the ground. The strike has decent launch power to it, allowing Cinderace to effectively charge his attack without an opponent breathing down her neck. The player is also capable of choosing which direction Cinderace starts the charge from, as she can either kick the pebble off the ground in front of her or right behind her, meaning this move can be used to catch rolls. As she charges, the Pyro Ball will grow in size, it becoming an active hitbox much like that of Lucario's Aura Sphere, but it will instead knock opponents back as opposed to rapidly damaging them in place. When the Pyro Ball reaches maximum size and is ready to be launched, the player can send the ball flying again with another press of the B button, but Pyro Ball is unique in regards to the fact that it can be shot in more than one direction. When Cinderace prepares to launch the Pyro Ball, the player can hold one of 8 directions, Cinderace then launching the projectile in the direction held, including straight up into the air, down at an angle, and even spiking it into the floor right below her. Pyro Ball is capable of bouncing off of surfaces, meaning there's a rather high skill ceiling when it comes to effectively using this move. Some versions of this move also have extra bonuses, like the down-angled shots of Pyro Ball having Cinderace jump up into the air, allowing her to dodge incoming attacks. Another difference between Pyro Ball and other charge-based energy projectiles is that Cinderace cannot initiate a charge while in the air, Cinderace simply performing a flaming kick that will launch opponents away. However, if Cinderace already has a Pyro Ball stored, she can launch it while airborne just like she can while on the ground. Pyro Ball will stay active for either a total of 3 seconds after launched or until it bounces off of 2 solid surfaces, which includes floors, walls, and yes, opponents. As a result, the player can use standard B to send the ball flying again should it rebound back their way. This combination greatly increasing Pyro Ball's damage potential, although the rebound's damage is cut down by 25%. Cinderace's side special is Flame Charge, a move that will have Cinderace charge forward while surrounded in flames. While in this state, Cinderace will deal damage to the first opponent she runs into, the impact bouncing Cinderace backwards and potentially out of harm's way. While this move cannot be charged, it not only allows Cinderace to quickly close the gap on her opponent, but when Flame Charge is active, the player gains access to 4 unique attacks to keep her opponents on their toes. Flame Charge's first extra attack option is High Jump Kick, which will have Cinderace perform a high flying kick that will launch both herself and her opponent up into the air with serious force. This attack can be performed by inputting up and B while Flame Charge is active. Flame Charge's second extra attack is Heat Crash, which will have Cinderace throw her momentum forward in a powerful drop kick. This move having strong horizontal knockback in exchange for being rather unsafe on shield. Should you whiff this, there's a high chance that you're going to get heavily punished, so try to pick your time to attack carefully. This attack can be used by inputting forward and B during Flame Charge. Flame Charge's third extra attack is Flame Slide. Cinderace transitioning from a run to a slide along the ground, the flame from her extended foot creating a trail of fire and sparks. This attack will deal moderate damage and pop opponents up into the air, setting them up for potential combos. But should your opponent hold their shield, you'll pass right through them, making it good for mix-ups as well. To perform this move, the player has to input down and B while Flame Charge is active. Finally, Flame Charge's fourth extra attack is U-Turn, Cinderace holding her forward momentum before throwing her weight in the opposite direction. This short-range dash having decent launch power and is a great way to catch rolls. To perform this move, the player has to input the opposite direction they're facing in B while Flame Charge is active. Cinderace's recovery special is Bounce. Cinderace putting her powerful legs to work in order to send herself soaring up into the air. When the move starts, Cinderace will squat down and build up energy within her legs before springing upwards, surrounded in fiery energy. This move will cover a huge vertical range, but once Cinderace reaches the apex of the jump, she will begin to fall at high speeds. Should any opponent be beneath Cinderace when she's coming down, she will halt her downward momentum by leaping off of the caught opponent, spiking them downwards in the process. While she can move around while she's falling down, it's still considered a freefall state as Cinderace cannot attack out of this drop. However, Cinderace can attack out of the extra jump she gets off of her opponent. Cinderace's down special is Court Change, a unique counter that is designed less for dealing huge damage and more for getting yourself out of a pinch. When this attack starts, Cinderace will take a defensive stance, staying low to the ground and preparing to counterattack. If she is hit while in this state, Cinderace will quickly perform a spinning kick, using both her momentum and the opponent's weight to throw her opponent behind her, essentially swapping positions with them. This attack will briefly stun the opponent when it's used, giving Cinderace an opportunity to follow up this counter with a combo starter or a stock closer, especially should she have used it with her back to the ledge. Like your average stun, Court Change can be broken out quicker than normal should your opponent be at a lower percent, meaning that it might be a good idea to not use this move until your opponent is around mid-percent should you not want to be countered right back. Court Change can also be used to have Cinderace throw projectiles back at their casters, although this only works on a set number of projectiles, for moves such as beams cannot be reflected by Court Change. Next is the Final Smash, and this time around, it's one of the easiest aspects of this character to predict, although it goes a bit above and beyond what she's capable of performing in her home game. This is Dynamax Pyro Bomb. Cinderace will start this Final Smash by sending a Pyro Ball flying through the air, it traveling in a straight line across the stage and catching any opponent in its path up in the cinematic Final Smash. As the cinematic begins, Cinderace will activate her Gigantamax form, standing proudly on top of a massive fireball. With this, Cinderace will backflip off the ball and kick it up into the air, all before rushing in and performing a brutal melee combo, ending it with a high-flying kick to launch them skyward. At this point, the fireball will make its way back down to the ground, Cinderace catching it on the tip of her foot before juggling it and sending it flying towards the airborne opponents, it exploding in an amazing spectacle of flame and concluding the final smash. Cinderace will then pose for the fans one final time before reverting back to her regular form. As she is a Pokemon, Cinderace's victory theme is the classic Pokemon victory theme, a remix of the classic title theme used in every mainline Pokemon game to date. Cinderace's first victory animation will have her slide in on her knees, cheering and boasting before flipping back onto her feet and striking a pose for the camera. Cinderace's second victory animation will have her juggle a pyro ball on her foot before shooting it past the camera, all before happily posing in a style similar to her original idol animation from Sword and Shield. Finally, Cinderace's third victory animation will have her jog in place, all before performing a backflip and striking a pose of victory. Cinderace's first taunt will show her limbering up, stretching her legs before giving the camera a nod, showing that she's ready to go. Cinderace's second taunt will have her bounce a small pebble off of her foot, it changing into a small fireball before she kicks it away. This is based on an idle animation Cinderace can perform in Sword and Shield, and the fireball will deal minimal damage should it hit an opponent. Finally, Cinderace's third taunt will have her spin around in place before striking a pose, arm extended in the air. This is a reference to the champion pose used by both Champion Leon and the player character in Sword and Shield. Cinderace's colors are mostly meant to represent other Pokemon introduced in Generation 8. To keep readability, a majority of Cinderace's colors will maintain her white fur while other fur patterns change color. Cinderace's first color is her standard appearance, featuring a red and yellow headdress and shorts-like pattern along with a navy blue outline around her neck and shoulders. Cinderace's second color will turn the red in her fur a bright blue, all while maintaining the yellow in her outfit and making the navy blue more vibrant. Cinderace's eyes will also change from orange to yellow. This is a reference to the final evolution of Sobble, Inteleon. Cinderace's third color will turn the red in her outfit a forest green, while the yellow and navy blue will change to varying shades of brown. This is a reference to the final evolution of Grookey, Rillaboom. Cinderace's fourth color will brighten the yellow in her fur while changing the red and navy blue to varying shades of purple. This is a reference to the fan-favorite Pokemon from Generation 8, Toxtricity, specifically its amped-up version from Pokemon Sword. Cinderace's fifth color is her shiny colors, this drastically changing her appearance as her usual white fur becomes a smoke gray and the navy blue outlines become a snow white. On top of that, the red in her fur will also change to a vibrant orange. Cinderace's sixth color will desaturate the colors in her fur, changing them to varying shades of gray and black while gaining yellow highlights. This is a reference to Urshifu, the legendary Pokemon introduced in the Isle of Armor expansion. Cinderace's seventh color will change the red in her fur to a deep green. The white fur in her arms being changed to the same color as her eyes, feet, and highlights become a royal blue. This is a reference to Calyrex, the legendary Pokemon introduced in the Crown Tundra expansion. Finally, Cinderace's eighth color is a special color, for this color references the Gym Challenger uniform used by the player throughout Sword and Shield. It looks a lot like a football outfit, and as Cinderace is inspired by a football player herself, it works perfectly with her design. Also, when Kirby absorbs Cinderace, he'll gain a copy of Cinderace's ears and crown and gain access to Pyro Ball, this projectile working the same as Cinderace's in pretty much every way. Pokemon is always going to be a series that remains relevant in Smash speculation, no matter what period the speculation is in. Up until the end, there will always be people pushing for or against any Pokemon's inclusion, and since we're at a point where our next character is apparently going to be our last, Pokemon is one of the last things a good chunk of the community wants to see right now, but I am not one of those people. Pokemon Sword and Shield are, arguably, the last huge Switch games to get any serious content in Smash Ultimate. While it got a few spirits around the time of its release, there is still a ton of content they could include to justify a new character. Smash Ultimate's original roster concluded with a Pokemon reveal, so maybe they thought that doing the same with a DLC would be best. I definitely feel that Cinderace is the most likely Nintendo character that has a chance of becoming playable in this last Challenger Pack, and if they actually do decide to make her the final character, I'll be more than content. If you like what you saw, feel free to like and subscribe, as there will be more content coming in the future. Also, be sure to follow me over on Twitter for details on what's coming next, all while indulging in the content I make from my many side hobbies. I'll be seeing you all again real soon, so until then, take care, stay safe, and have a good one.